Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. My oldest and only brother, Jeremiah, was 8. I myself was 3. And my little sister, Jaja, was only a few months old when our mother, Lucinda, moved us away from my father, Willie Calhoun, and everything we knew in Toledo, Ohio, to Orlando, Florida. We would never return as a whole family. Later on in life, Lucinda expressed the sheer and utter horror and terror our father made her feel, and how mean, cruel, and sadistic he could be. I came to ask myself, why take us away from everyone? We had aunts, uncles, cousins, and close friends. Why erase our entire history? And what gave her that right? My mother hardly ever spoke of anything or anyone from her past, with the exception of her mother, Doll Williams, and sister, Velma. Once our mother got us all to herself and totally isolated, she would abuse, neglect, and reject us, preferring instead to use us for food stamps and public assistance, basically treating us as commodity. Lucinda lived a very comfortable lifestyle funded by the government at our expense. And if uprooting us was truly about safety and protection, why exploit us? Why was our love never enough? Little did I understand Lucinda. You see, in her eyes, we were pawns in a ruthless bid for government benefits and revenge against our fathers. It's not that the lifelong ramifications didn't dawn on Lucinda, but rather that her own agenda and greed mattered more. You see, Lucinda was a narcissistic sociopath, and in many ways she groomed us to be the very same way. One of the last, but very powerful reasons she took us away from everything was to remain at the center. One of the last, but very powerful reasons she took us away from everything was to remain at the center while we remain on the peripheral. What none of us knew at that time about this distant, strange, and cold woman is that she had spent most of her life as a whore, bottom bitch, and a madame, in that order. We were raised in a whorehouse, and my father was also her pimp. Lucinda was a woman of many lives and secrets, which she never intended to own up to, much less take any accountability for, ever. Like the many years that she would spend as a spinster. You see, my mother was a closeted lesbian, and most of her female friends were actually her lovers growing up. Oftentimes, she would move us all in with a girlfriend after a bad relationship with a man. When in hardship, my mother always turned to other women, financially exploiting them just as she would a man. From birth, my mother viewed me and threatened me as a competitor. I was intentionally starved of food as an infant, which she coined as me being her greediest baby. Well then, why was I so small? You see, my mother is one person that you would always have to read in between the lines to interpret. I was born with bow legs, red skin, sandy red hair, and a big head. I was the apple of my father's eye, to the degree that it would frustrate Lucinda of how he could stay with the foot in her ass, yet be so gentle and loving towards me. This built up animosity in her psyche, and low-key over the years, she pitted my baby sister against me from early on. Overfeeding my dark-skinned, crack-addicted born sister, making sure that she would be thick and surely favored over me, especially by men. You see, thick is the standard of beauty within the Southern Black community. So in later years, my family would tease me for being skinny and having no butt. However, no matter how skinny I was always curvy and ultra feminine. So in fact, being slim in a sea of sea lions always made me stand out from your average around the way black girl. And in time, not only did I become model-esque, but statuesque, just as my daddy always knew I would. Proving imposed hurdles can oftentimes become catalysts. And I'll say it again. Proving that imposed hurdles can oftentimes become catalysts. No matter how my mother attempted to sabotage, hurt, and or betray me, it always backfired and exploded right in her face. All throughout my life, I've been my mother's sacrifice, from cutting me out of childhood pictures to ensure Jaja was center focused, much like in life, to ruining my credit, putting bills in my name as a child she never intended to pay, pawning my bike as a child for drug money, telling me it was stolen, making me cry while high-fiving and laughing about it behind my back. From early, my mother was grooming me to be a whore, first selling me to a bus driver boyfriend who was cheating on his wife with her. Again, she was a professional mistress. It was as if my mother had been calculating my value on the sex market from birth. It was as if my mother had been calculating my value in the sexual market from birth. The way I know that she knew and benefited from that transaction is later on in life and as an adult, she introduced me to another girlfriend who openly looked me up and down saying how pretty I was and how much money I could make from her male friends. I stood speechless as my mother didn't bat a lash. I later came to find out again, prior to her passing, that she had descended back into prostitution and lesbianism. Again, moving children, this time my kid's sister, into an adult sexual playground. Now, soon after she passed away, she left sole custody to the same lover on a tattered piece of paper, virtually selling my sister off to the highest bidder, just as she had done us. Upon studying Lucinda, you will find a repetitive pattern of kidnap, alienation, brainwashing, financial and sexual child exploitation. A child sex slave broker. My mother was a child sex slave broker and madame till the very end. My mother nearly lost all of us at some point or another to the state, my little sister included. My mother groomed us into a makeshift existence where her word was God. She ruled with an iron fist and made herself, one moment, my mother groomed us into a makeshift existence where her word was God. She ruled with an iron fist and made herself the center so that we would be forever at odds with each other and lost without her. I am the only sibling, the only of her children, who has awakened and shed light on this mysterious dark Luciferian, wicked witch we affectionately call Mother. I am the only sibling out of all of her children who has awakened and shed light onto this mysterious, dark, Luciferian, wicked witch we affectionately call Mama, who is really no mother at all, but rather a captor, substitute, slave master, and groomer. She chose darkness over light, hate over love, wicked over good. When she passed on that tattered letter awarding sole custody to ravenous savages, she passed on a wicked curse and a spell. When I seldomly do speak to said couple, the woman eerily sounds and begins even looking just like Lucinda, as if an evil glares in her eyes, as if Lucinda herself is peeking out, in awe of the staying power of her own evil nearly 20 years later, all until a real first-hand witness begins attesting and confessing. The famous words of Cat Williams: never stand by and allow liars and cowards to rewrite history. In the famous words of Cat Williams, never stand by idle and allow liars and cowards to rewrite history. Therefore, I'm standing on the truth like I'm wearing suspenders. Moneybag Yo, sprinkling holy water on the vampire, Nicki Minaj.